Hi, my name is Yejun Kweon, and today I'm going to present my book report, Tyranny of Merit. Tyranny of Merit is a novel written by notable Harvard professor Michael Sandel. To briefly mention about the author, Michael Sandel was born in 1953, Minnesota. He spent his early life in Minnesota and moved to Los Angeles when he was 13. He has been involved in many activities at school. For instance, he served his high school as a president during his senior year. After graduating from high school, he was unable to study at Brandeis University with a bachelor degree in politics. Despite the fact that his main career is professor, he also published a number of books. To briefly inform this book is mainly about justice. It is true that most people living in this era is tempted to merits. For instance, we always come up with phrases such as everything is possible and believing in ourselves that if we just try hard, we could be able to succeed in this world. This kind of ideology is fascinating to people living in the society as there are lots of factors such as race, gender, social status that discriminates us. However, Sandel criticizes this ideology in this text. Sandel's criticism of meritocracy can be briefly summarized in two ways. First of all, meritocracy is never working fairly in modern society. Sandel supports this claim mainly based on US examples. However, as I read the book, I feel that I cannot say that Korean society is more fair than the US. The first story that comes out in the book focuses on college entrance exams in the US. The author first refers to those who enter prestigious universities in exchange for large donations. It also talks about the scandal that rocked the entire US school. Of course, it costs a lot of money. Rich parents spend a huge amount of money to get their children into prestigious universities. Most importantly, however, students who enter university fairly without any legal or moral problems are also likely to stand on an economic inequality structure. It's a very simple matter to understand. It takes money to create admission specifications to enter prestigious universities and to receive rich private tutoring for entrance exams. Students who are so poor that they cannot afford to pay up tuition for prestigious universities cannot attend university unless they are superior enough to receive scholarships. According to Sandel, it's no surprise that more than two-thirds of Ivy League college students come from families with the top 20% or more of their income. Princeton and Yale have more top 1% of students than those from the bottom 60% income bracket in the United States. No one would think that a competent student could enter a prestigious university regardless of social class. The situation in Korea is similar. In other words, meritocracy is not working properly. But let's think in a different way. Even if meritocracy works perfectly, can it be said that there's nothing wrong with the situation? In fact, this is what Sandel really wants to point out. There is a clear loophole in the meritocracy myth. Capability naturally justifies this discrimination against individuals according to their abilities. Suppose that it is impossible to quantify an individual's abilities perfectly, and that it is a society where anyone can climb high enough with their own abilities and efforts. So what happens to those who can't go up high even in a society where meritocracy works perfectly? Is it okay to say that people who are relatively incompetent or who make less effort are worthless? Is it the right society in which a society blatantly discriminates against a person who has become a highly educated lawyer and a person who cleans buildings where the lawyer works with a relatively low educational background? Of course, it is unreasonable for a society in which a competent person cannot succeed with elements of his or her own origin, gender. Of course, it's unreasonable. However, a society that only guarantees the possibility of competent people is rising from low to high is also not sufficiently justifiable. What meritocracy guarantees is the possibility of someone capable of going from high to low, not necessarily the lives of those who will be low. Then also addresses the problems democracy has brought to modern society. President Donald Trump is one of the leading candidates was one of the leading candidates in the US. Of course, there will be many reasons for Trump's election. Sandel talks about the deepening of elitism, the frustration of those who do not feel self-effective in a society where meritocracy prevails, and the anger they harbor. The book analyzes the speech of former US Presidents Obama, Hillary, and Trump, and their supporters, and it was quite interesting because they didn't know how much about it. In addition, there's a part that explains the blind spot of meritocracy by combining it with Hicks' theory of free market liberalism and Rawls' theory of welfare state liberalism. Talk about my thoughts, even though it was a professional content, it was really easy to understand. So every time I read the book and every time I flipped the page over, I was nodding myself without realizing. I actually think the ideology itself gives hope to people, but could stimulate people to enact illegal deeds. Therefore, I would like to refine this ideology by stating, if people try hard purely without conducting illegal deeds, and if government provides more equal opportunities to people, people will be able to be successful and to satisfy the idea of meritocracy. And this is the end of my presentation I prepared. Thank you.